Today's lesson is 3.1D, page 34 and 35 in your book. So we will be talking about algebra tiles today and combining like terms. So the keys for the tiles are as follows. So the keys for the tiles are here. One box unshaded represents positive 1. Each box with dots in it represents negative 1. A rectangle unshaded represents positive x. A rectangle shaded is negative x. So for example 1 is done for us. We have negative 1 times negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, plus positive 4, which gives us negative 1. Okay, this next one is done for us as well. We have 2 x's that are unshaded and 1 negative x, and 4 positives. So when we combine or make 0 pairs, we have 1 shaded, 1 unshaded x. So I'm left with 1 positive x and 4 tiles. X plus 4 is the simplest form. Number 1. So notice the 0 pairs. I have a 0 pair here, and I also have a 0 pair here. I'm left with 1x minus negative 1 minus negative 1, which is really x minus 2. X minus 2 is the simplest form of this expression. For example number 2, once again we need to find our 0 pairs. So we have 1 positive, 1 negative x, 1 negative, 1 positive, and I'm left with 2 negative x. And that is all that is left. So I'm left with negative 2x. Example 3. We're looking for 0 pairs, if any. So we have 1 positive, 1 negative x. I'm left with 1 negative x and 2 negative 1 tiles for negative 2. That is the simplest form of that expression. Okay, example 4 is a little bit more tricky, but I think we can do it. So I need a 0 pair. So I need 1 negative, 1 positive. 1 negative, 1 positive. Those make 0 pairs. Also in the ones, I have a negative and a positive, and a negative and a positive. So everything uncircled will be part of my simplest form. I have x minus 1 is my simplest form of this expression. Okay, turn your page to page 35. We're going to draw the algebra tiles for ourselves. So this first one, we have a positive x. That is a tile that is unshaded. So that represents x. And I have 6 positives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a representation of x plus 6. For example 6, we have negative 3x plus negative 2. So if you remember from the algebra tiles, these ones are shaded. They had dots in them. So these represent 3 negative x's. I also have 2 units that are also shaded. This is a representation of number 6. For number 7, we have 4x minus 1. So I have 4 unshaded rectangles and a negative 1 unit. That is a representation of number 7. Okay, simplifying each expression. So we're going to combine like terms. So that just means rectangles with rectangles, so on and so forth. So in this case, I have 2x, which is these two. The 1 is here, and then the positive x. So there's no 0 pairs in this example, but I have 3 x's, and then I plus 1. That is how you simplify. You just have one number with an x, and then the number on the end. I cannot combine 3x and 1 because they are different units or different shapes on the algebra tiles. So for number 9, we have to draw the picture. So I have 3 x's that are positive. I have 4 1 units, and I have 2 negative units. So I look for 0 pairs, if any. So I have 1 positive, 1 negative, 1 positive, 1 negative. Everything uncircled represents something that needs to stay. So I cannot combine the little squares with the rectangles. So I have 3x positive, and then I have plus 2 of the small units. Example 10. So we're going to model this with 2 rectangles. I have a third unshaded rectangle, 2 units that are shaded, and 3 units unshaded. Look for 0 pairs, if any. Everything that's uncircled, I need to take account. So I have 1, 2, 3 x's and 1 unit. Okay, example 11. I have negative 3x, so I have 3 of these that are shaded, a positive 1 tile, and a negative x. Okay, look for 0 pairs, if any. There is none. So when I'm combining like terms, I combine the x's, which is negative 4 of those, plus 1. 12. So I have 2 positive x's, 3 negative units, and negative 2 x's. So look for 0 pairs, if any. So I have 1 and then 2. So I'm left with just negative 3. Example 13. I have a negative x, positive 3 units, and 4 x's. 3, 4. 0 pairs, if any, so that's this one and this one. So I'm left with 3 x's, and 3 units. So I add them up.